On to the Bills and Bengals, and joining us on the Western Hotline is Sal Capaccio. We'll get to Bills and Bengals and all this, this mess with Darius Slay. Sal, I don't know if you've been up and listening and what your take on it is. There's the actual transactional nature of what's going on, and then there's the reaction to it, so we can kind of get to all of it. But the Bills place a waiver claim for Darius Slay. He says he's not going to report. Drew Rosenhaus issues a statement saying that, world-class organization like the Bills, he's honored to have been claimed. He's going to take some time to think. Slay then goes on the Emmanuel Acho podcast last night and says that, he got home and it was nice to see, like, one of his son's games or practices. It was nice to be home. He's going to take some time. And when pressed, would you go to Philly? Would you go to Detroit? I think it was quite clear he would consider going back to a team he'd already played for, and that he might not be willing to come to Buffalo. So on the Bills side of this, what do you think their move from here will be? Will it be to just let him retire or play for us? Or will it be to say, like, all right, then fine, go where you want to go?
Okay, good morning. A lot going on here.
Right.
First want to say, it's not, surprising totally, because I understand that most people don't, but I think one of the biggest things that's happened with me over the last 24 hours with this, or if you want to, whatever the time period was, is how many people don't understand the rules, right? And it's okay. That's fine. But, there are many, things and people and questions out there about why didn't the Bills know this, do this, talk to him, all that kind of stuff. So first, maybe we should just kind of walk through how it worked. Can we do that for a second?
Yeah,
right?
Let's do it.
Okay. So before the trade deadline, which happens in early November, if a player is released who has more than 4 years experience, he's simply a free agent. There are no waivers. He just can sign with whatever team he wants. He's been in the league 4 years. Any player released under 4 years is always subject to waivers in the NFL. What are waivers? Waivers mean that player is put on a list that says he's out there and any team can put a claim in on him. Before the trade deadline, essentially, or before it's week 5, I believe, that order of claiming is last year's draft order. So up until end of September, early October, it's okay, Tennessee Titans would have the first choice, whatever, all the way down to the Philadelphia Eagles. And if multiple teams put a claim in, that team gets the player. Once you get to week 5, it flips to the current order of standings for how the order of waiver claims. So right now it would be, I think, the Titans again, honestly, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? All right. Once you get to the trade deadline and it passes, every player, no matter how long you've been in this league, is subject to waivers. And that is to prevent, wink, wink, hey, we'll release a guy. Can you give us compensation? You can't do that, right? Guy's going to get released. Any team can claim him. Kind of prevents some shenanigans from happening. So we are past the trade deadline. Darius Slay gets released. That means he goes on waivers. Now, apparently from what happened in Pittsburgh, I think there was a mutual parting of the ways, right? I think that's why he was released. He was a healthy scratch last week. Asante Samuel played against the Bills. Things weren't going very well for him, so Pittsburgh Steelers released him. So because we're past the trade deadline, he goes on waivers. So now he's on this list where any team can say, oh, we want that guy, and you put a claim in for him. He is still property of the Pittsburgh Steelers while he's on the waivers. You can't just call him up. You can't contact him. You can't talk to his agent. Hey, you going to come to Buffalo? Hey, you going to come to Detroit? You can't do that. Now, I will say there's a guy named Jeff McClain who writes for the Philadelphia Inquirer who actually did report when this happened. He thought it might be possible Slay wouldn't report to Buffalo once he was claimed. So for him to say that tells me there had to be something out there percolating that maybe people knew about it. It doesn't matter. The way the league works is we want this guy. We're going to put a claim on him. You don't call his reps, Drew Rosenhaus, his agent. You don't call him. You don't call the Steelers. You just say, we're putting a claim on him. And when the time comes and 4 o'clock that day, the next day, when the waiver claim is, because every team has 24 hours to put that claim in, and then that's it. You put your claim in, then you put your pen down. When that happens, the league goes, here's who he's awarded to. Mm-hmm. I remember back in the day, do you guys remember when Sean Merriman was claimed by the Buffalo Bills?
Yes.
Buddy Nix.
Yep.
Merriman has told the story many times. He goes on waivers. He gets a call from Buddy Nix and goes, hey, we just claimed you. And he goes, what are you talking about? I am not going to Buffalo. He had no idea. These guys, they don't know. Whoever claims them, claims them. He ultimately came to Buffalo, obviously. So add him to your list, by the way. But he came to Buffalo, right? But you don't know. So they go through the process. The Bills claim Darius Slay. Then they find out after he's claimed, I'm not going to Buffalo. For whatever reason, he says, I'm not going to Buffalo. Well, once the Bills claimed him, the only way they can do that, the only way they can add him, they must make room on the roster. Because when you claim somebody, whether that is a less than 4-year player early in the season or a 4-year player after the trade deadline, no matter what it is, when you claim somebody off waivers, you must add him immediately to your 53-man roster. You cannot just put him on the practice squad. You have to add him to your 53-man roster. So the Bills had to make a roster move. They chose to release Ja'Marcus Ingram, who subsequently does what? Goes on waivers like anybody else.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Day later, the Houston Texans pick him up. So now the Bills have this player, Darius Slay, who's on their 53. The Texans have this player, Ja'Marcus Ingram. That's it. They're on the roster. It does not matter. Okay, what any of them think about where they're going, what they're doing, no matter. They're on the roster. Okay, your question to me is, okay, now the guy says, I'm not coming to Buffalo. What do you do? Well, until there's a resolution, he stays on the 53-man roster. But those resolutions can include the Bills saying, fine, we'll just waive you. Then he'd have to go through waivers again. Guess what? 25 other teams can claim him before the Eagles as well.
Right.
Anybody can do that, right? And maybe they won't because they know that he won't go there, but they could do that, and he'd be in the same situation. The most likely outcome here for me is there is what's called a reserve did not report list. Now, generally, that is reserved for people who don't report to training camp, contracts, holdouts, and the team goes to the league and says, hey, this guy's not there. We can't do anything about it. We need the roster spot, and the league has to give you an exemption to put him on a did not report list, and you have to clear that. So to me, I believe the only thing is I don't know the time period yet on when that can happen, right? Is that a day? Is that a week? Whatever it is, there is something called a did not report list that I would say eventually he'd probably go on that. That would mean he's on their team just like an injured player. Reserved injured, reserve physically unable to perform, reserve did not report, reserve retired. It's all the same. All it is a guy who's your property, but he's not counting on your 53. That seems like it's the most likely outcome at this point, at least in the interim. And when that happens, if that happens, then that will open up another spot on the 53-man roster, which the Bills could sign somebody. But he is still their property, and they don't have Ja'Marcus Ingram on the team.
It's all good info. The only follow-up I have, do you know, like, what's the amount of time between the league tells you, hey, you were awarded this player, like, okay, what's your move? Like, do you have to tell them immediately, or would they, I guess, have had hours a day, like, to figure out that he wasn't coming and not make a move?
I was going to say, is it just like fantasy where you click the drop-down menu of the player?
Yeah, like
you're going to drop Ja'Marcus Ingram.
Right, like, so they would know who you would drop?
Yes.
A corresponding
You know why? You know why I know that?
Yeah.
Because it all happened in real time.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
okay.
we got an alert that said the Bills have now obviously you guys know that it gets reported, right? Okay, he was claimed by the Bills. Remember that came out, like all these reports, he was claimed by the Bills, right? Yep. Well, when it was made official by the Buffalo Bills, it was the Bills have claimed him and released Ja'Marcus Ingram. When it's on the transaction wire, that's the key.
Gotcha.
It's got to be on the same transaction day.
Gotcha. So
All
it's
right.
immediate.
So,
Yes.
all right, Sal. So that's the transactional side of this. Let's the personal, the player side of this. Do you feel like, because I end up feeling like as you lay that all out, how that plays out, there's people that are really mad that I think are kind of just, they want to be mad about this. Like, is it unfortunate and less than ideal and it cost the Bills a player? Yeah. But this idea that, like, Brandon Beane dropped the ball, I mean, I've got my criticisms of Brandon Beane, and this really isn't one of them. If you want to say they shouldn't have taken a risk, I guess. I don't know why I wouldn't have thought the player would not report. To me, I don't know. Like, if they want to play hardball and keep him and force him to retire or be a Bill, they could do that. Or if they want to waive him, they could do that. Ultimately, we're talking about, I don't know, the last spot on the roster. And to me, it's I want to make sure I don't get too fired up about it.
I understand that. I don't like the fact that they lost a player like Ja'Marcus Ingram, who's a valuable depth piece who can play 3 different positions. I mean, the guy can play outside corner, he can play nickel, he can play safety. Okay? Now, I say that because I think that he's a valuable depth piece. I'll also tell you, the Bills knew when they released Ja'Marcus Ingram what the risk was, right? Like, they knew that. It wasn't like, so to me, it's like they, in some way, it was calculated, okay, like, we could lose this player, and they had to be on some level okay with that. because when you put a guy like that on waivers, you know another team can scoop him up. What hurts a little more is he goes to a conference rival who you might wind up playing in the playoffs, by the way, right? The Houston Texans, right? So I do get that. You guys know, I mean, I've been a Ja'Marcus Ingram fan and supporter for several years. I've always said, I think this kid can play. His for rookie year, he's on the practice squad. I'm like, I think this kid might be somebody who can help. And then he starts to show up his second and third year. It hasn't been as much. He's been a healthy scratch. So he is. He's the bottom of the roster. You're right about that. At the end of the day, most bottom of the roster guys are guys that are kind of interchangeable, right? But in this case, I thought this was a player. The Bills only have 3 outside corners on their roster right now. That is Max Harrison, Christian Benford, and Tre'Davious White. He's the 4th. Darius Slay would have been the 4th. I mean, he is now, but Ja'Marcus Ingram was the 4th outside corner. He wasn't playing. When he did play, he played special teams. Guys like that are replaceable, let's be honest, right? We know that. Mm-hmm. I don't like the fact that happened, that the Bills lost him, because now you kind of essentially lost him for nothing. But I also say, of all, like, the Bills, couldn't have been a complete shock that they would lose him. So they had to be, like, calculated, okay, what if we lose Ja'Marcus? We have to be willing, to understand that that's going to happen.
Yeah.
I thought, hey, if he cleared waivers, he would come back to the practice squad. Who knows if that's the case? And the Bills can, by the way, they do have Dane Jackson on their practice squad, a veteran. He's elevated twice so far. Mm-hmm. They can elevate him once more. They can also sign him to the 53 to replace Ja'Marcus Ingram. I know he doesn't, he's not the versatile kind of guy that Ja'Marcus is, but, that's the case there. So I think roster-wise, right. If you want to get really upset that they lost Ja'Marcus Ingram, I get it. He is a bottom-of-the-roster guy. I don't think it's ideal that they lost Ja'Marcus Ingram in this situation, but I also keep thinking to myself, it's not like they didn't know they wouldn't lose him, right? They knew that there was a risk here, and they were still okay with putting him on waivers. And what does that tell me? I'm not really sure.
Yeah. So, we would expect that they're going to add another corner, right? Like, whether maybe that's to the practice squad, and as you mentioned, Jackson maybe comes up.
Yeah, maybe, Joe. You're right. And they have Corey Couch, and I think he's more of a slot guy, but yes.
Okay. Because I was wondering, like, if they do that, like, should we be looking out for they're going to be calling around to other veteran corners because that's what they were kind of targeting in Slay, or do you think they would go for a more just practice squad, bottom of the roster guy?
Good question. It feels like they wanted a veteran corner here. That's the other part of this. Like,
yeah,
what
did they want in the first place with Slay?
That's right.
Because it was surprising, I think, to everybody that they were even after it.
Exactly right, Joe. Like, I still wonder, like, what was the role Darius Slay was going to play? Why did they want Darius Slay? Is it possible they claimed him to keep him away from the Eagles, a team that they're going to play in a few weeks, who right now every win for the Bills is critical? It's possible. I don't know if I want to go that far, considering that at the expense of losing Ja'Marcus Ingram, do you make a play like that? You know what I mean? I'm not really sure. But it is possible. It's also really possible, guys, that they saw what happened in the AFC Championship game last year. Christian Benford goes down, and they'd have put Kyer Elam in. Now, a lot of us said maybe they should have put Ja'Marcus Ingram in. It wasn't where he worked maybe all week in practice, but maybe that would have been a better option. But the options weren't great. You put a guy like Darius Slay on this roster, he's available for you make him available for for that critical game. Maybe something happens in your secondary, you feel a little better at least about having a veteran cornerback there, right? I mean, I just think it's the time of year where you probably start thinking about things like that.
Sal Capaccio, let's get to the injury report, Sal. We've got some stuff for, of course, the Bengals game. And the Barnes Firm injury report brought to you by the Barnes Firm. Injured, for help, call 1-800-8-MILLION. We've got players that are working their way back. Deion Dawkins in concussion protocol for a little while here. T. Higgins was a full participant, I think, from what I saw at Bengals practice, so he's tracking to be on the right track. What's the latest on Dawkins from practice, and also Dalton Kincaid with his new knee brace?
Yeah, so Deion Dawkins is progressing through the protocol, which is nice. He did speak with the media yesterday. He said, obviously, he hasn't missed much time in his career, and it's been tough, but he's got a lot of faith in everybody that he went through all this, and he said it was hard to go through it, but he's on the right track, it feels like, and hopefully, for his sake, he'll be on the field and he's okay. But he is progressing. He was in a blue jersey yesterday, which is good. Not a red non-contact jersey. Still listed as limited. Same with Spencer Brown. Different deal though. If Deion's cleared, he's cleared. He plays, right? A concussion, you get cleared, you play. Spencer Brown might come down to, do they want to put him on the field yet? What's the risk of getting re-injured? What's the risk of, long-term here? He has a shoulder injury. He was in a regular blue jersey, limited. He was wearing a large, brace or wrap up on his shoulder area. So we'll see about that, but he was limited. And then with Dalton Kincaid, yes, he showed up, as you guys know, on Wednesday with hamstring/knee. he did practice yesterday. He's practiced twice now, limited both days. And he does have he did have a knee brace on the left knee yesterday. I put some video out. You can see that. Now, I guess the question would be, did he re-injure the knee that, he's had an issue with? Or could it simply be they're maintaining and managing the knee as he goes through the hamstring because he's back, to working, and they want to make sure? It could very well be that as well. I'll ask Sean McDermott about that today when he joins me on the Extra Point Show. But he did practice yesterday, and he had a blue jersey on, so I think that's encouraging. What's also interesting, and maybe not as encouraging, is A.J. Epinesa did not practice yesterday with a foot injury. When we went out there, he wasn't on the injury report on Wednesday. We go out there yesterday, guys. He's standing around the street clothes. He's watching. Now, the fact that he was still out there watching is good. A lot of times if something happened, a guy wouldn't be if it happened in immediate and he had to get treatment. So, again, we'll see. The fact that he wasn't listed at all on Wednesday, I'm not sure if that means anything happened at practice or not. You know what I mean? It could have been something off. It could have just been, I don't know, just a foot issue that popped up that, maybe something bothered him. But, again, we'll see about all these kinds of things when I talk to Sean McDermott. 2 DMPs in a row for Josh Palmer, by the way. Still dealing with a knee and ankle. And I thought it was interesting when Sean McDermott told us on Wednesday that his body just is not in a great place right now with dealing with the injury he had going back to the Atlanta game, essentially.
Sal Capaccio on the Western Hotline, head of Bills and Bengals, Sunday, 1 o'clock. Okay, the Northtown Automotive Extra Point Show today at 10. You'll hear from Sean McDermott if any players may be ruled out at that point. And also Pat Hammer today, right? Because the weather, we're going to be watching that.
Yeah, we are watching that, and I think it sounds right. Maybe like a playoff kind of game. Maybe not as much snow, but I'll let Pat handle that part of it. Also today, big college basketball game tomorrow in Buffalo, by the way.
Yep,
St. Bonaventure against UB. Oh, great. We're going to give a little love to both programs today. We're going to have George Halkovich on and Mark Schmidt on today to preview that game and talk about their teams. I think it's really cool that we have some really good basketball going on in this area right now. So we'll do that. Yeah, it's a Buffalo Football Friday, but, man, we got hockey. I'm going to effort to get Paul. We'll see if we can do that. And, obviously, we have some college basketball, so we're going to do it all today.
Yeah, 8-1 versus 8-0, I think, tomorrow.
Yeah, that's great, man. This is really, really fun, really, really cool. And how about, not for nothing, I didn't see if they won or lost the last couple of days, but Canisius won 3 games last year. They're already 4-4 through their first 8 this year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're stepping up, too. So I think it's pretty cool to see a little resurgence of the college hoops here in the area.
Very good. Thanks, Sal.
You got it.
Sal Capaccio on the Western Hotline. It is Buffalo Bills Football Friday, brought to you by Salino Law. Car Crash, call Salino. Call the 8s. And by Crosby's Pizza and Subs, Crosby's Hometown Fuel. Game day ready since 1922.